So, Simon, you believe that if you don't learn sales, you just might as well go get a job somewhere. Why do you believe that?
Sales is oxygen. And imagine being an entrepreneur in this time where the buyer is cautious and you don't have the tools to accelerate a sales conversation. Then you have your sales velocity going down. And if you have your sales velocity going down, it's just a question of time before pipeline dries up. And when pipeline dries up, you will have now a full series of downstream problems, cash flow problems, problems keeping people, cost management problems, a full Pandora's box of things you don't want to have.
I like what you said. Sales is oxygen, and I think the idea of the pipeline drying up is because we stop breathing. We stop breathing, and we stop creating opportunities. Revenue generating activities take a back seat to administrative tasks. So, how did you get into sales to begin with?
It was never my plan. So I studied psychology and philosophy. So you can imagine how much interest I had in anything that's money, right? I was the opposite guy, a book guy. And and then it was a time when the big consultancies they would take people independently of what they majored in. The only thing was you would need to have the best grade, so 1.0 as an average grade. And I had that, and I said, guys, I need a job. And they were, okay, cool. We need people with the best grades who have learned something completely inappropriate, but they know how to structure problems and solve problems. These are the guys we need. The rest you can learn. And so I had a job. So I was now in one of these big advisories, strategy advisories. You fly into the board room of a Fortune 500 company. They give you the biggest problem that they have, and you have to solve it over the next weeks. That was my job. And I did fall in love with a particular subset of those problems. The problems were always the same. It's how do we win against our competitors in the market? That was always the only problem to solve. But there were multiple subsets that we had to tackle. One was how to enter a market with a new product, how to win in the market, and how to stay in the market. So this subset of questions that was also very related to buyer psychology and business strategy, this is what I did fall in love with. And so fast forward 22 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still in love with these topics, how to enter a market, crush it in the market, stay in the market.
Or do you have a specific industry that you work with more than any other?
It's mainly professional services. So, financial advisors, management advisors, IT advisors, business intelligence advisors, marketing agencies, design agencies, UX, UI agencies, um, B2B software builders. So, we really specialize serving the high ticket online services. So typically that's professional services agency owners.
And was that a specific desire of yours to serve professional services, or was that, hey, we actually kind of know how to do this better than anything else?
Oh, it was just that's the only thing that I know how to do, right? I have 22 years of professional services under my belt. That's the only thing that I was able to solve, scale, replicate, put on repeat, teach. And that's the only 274 tools that I have are in that toolbox. So that's what I offer.
And your toolbox has generated an additional $2 billion in sales for your clients over these last 21, 22 years. That's significant. 2 billion with a B. So congrats on that success. And thank you guys for tuning into the show today. I'm the real Jason Duncan. This is the root of all success. And I'm talking with my guest today, Simon Severino. He is coming to us from Vienna, Austria, but his accent, you might notice, is Italian. So he's an Italian living in Austria. and he's joining us by the magic of the interwebs today. And I'm really happy that he's here. He's the author of a book called Strategy Sprints, which, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see over his left shoulder, back behind him there. He's got that book on there, and it's actually coming out in Chinese later this year. So if you're a Chinese speaker, congratulations, you got another book. So tell me a little bit about this idea of strategy sprints. I think I know what that means, and I told you pre-show I had a couple of curious questions. I've not read the book, but I'm curious about what that means. What is strategy sprints about?
When you run a business, you have mainly two big problems. What's the right thing to do, and what's the right way to do it? So I wanted to solve those things for my clients. And the technical terms for what's the right thing to do is a strategy, which is more than a plan. It's really my assumption on how we are going to win, where we are going to win, and the 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 specific tactics that are going to make us win against our competition. So that's strategy. And then the way to do it, there are many ways to do it, and most of them fail. But there is one way to do it which is actually helpful, and that is breaking down work in very small bursts of work. We do 7 days. And so in 7 day sprints, you can solve a lot of bottlenecks and only solving one. And when you have solved that, then you move on to the next activity. That's the sprint method. So that's why it became strategy sprint. What should we do? We need a strategy. How do we execute it in weekly sprints?
So I don't know where I heard this before, and it might have been just seeing your book somewhere, but this idea of doing a sprint for a defined period of time to really dig in deep on something became an attractive idea for me and my team. So last month, the month of May, this I know this podcast probably doesn't come out till September, but we're recording this in June. But last month, in the month of May, I met with my team internally, and of course, I run a coaching company, TRJD Enterprises, and I work with entrepreneurs all over the country here in the United States. But one of the things that I wanted to do is I said to the teams, like, we need to do a sprint, and we're doing 90-day sprints. So I know 7 days is actually 90 days is more like a marathon, but for
It's
us
12
is
sprints. One cycle of 90 days is 12 sprints. That's exactly a strategy sprint cycle.
oh, well, see, I need to take a look at the book. And so what we're doing is we're taking 90 days, June, July, and August, and then we'll switch in September. And we're going to do a sprint on, like, for our first sprint, we're doing on YouTube. We're paying 100% attention to my YouTube channel and how can we improve views? How can we get better scores on the thumbnails, and all the stuff that we need to do to improve the channel, because my channel's not monetized yet. We need to get to monetization. So the idea, it sounds like, hey, team, let's take one thing that we need to do really well in and get a strategy and run like hell, and let's get this thing done perfectly, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Is that a fair assessment of the concept of strategy sprints?
Yes, and you are validating that most good teams, they feel that 90 days is the right length to do something important, because under 90 days you can't really do something important like getting a YouTube channel to monetization. But above 90 days, it's also there is not enough intensity and energy. That's why most people, if they say, I'm going to do my first triathlon, I'm going to run my first half marathon, they get a training plan of around 90 days, because it's big enough that you can tackle something big, but it's also small enough that you can remember it, accomplish it, and becomes part of your everyday. If you have an annual goal, to be honest, I forget my annual goals, but I never forget my sprint goals. I always have 3 sprint goals, 90 days, never forget them, because they are baked into every week's activities.
I have you heard of the book and the concept, the 12-week year? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it basically says what I just said.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting because I one of my clients I was working with, he runs a fencing company, and here in the United States, and we were talking about annual goals, and how do we do that? And my recommendation to him was, listen, I think you need to break these down into, you make your whole year in one quarter. Just focus
Exactly.
on a quarter and then
Yeah.
focus on the next quarter. And as we started talking about that, I remembered, hey, have you read the book? Because I've read it. I said, I was telling him, did you read 12-Week Year? And he goes, no, I never heard of it. So we're looking at that. I'm actually trying to reach out to those guys to have them on the podcast too, to talk about it, because I think this concept, you're onto something, Simon, is because if you focus on an annual goal, it's too far away to understand, can I make it? Can I hit it? Can I get there? And if you just do a daily goal, well, that repetition can be monotonous and it can be hard. But if you do 90 days, that seems kind of the right thing. So set up your year just one quarter at a time. Hey, we need to do $2 million this quarter. Boom, let's just go at it. And then $2 million next quarter, rather than $8 million for the year, because you could miss your targets during the first 2 or 3, 4 months, and then your annual goal is shot. You're never going to reach it. So that's really clever. I'm going to order a copy of your book. Have you got it on your website that we can get to it, or is there another place to pick it up?
Amazon Strategy Sprints.
All right, so go check him out on Amazon. Now, one of the things you said that we talked about was this strategy sprints model, this methodology. You show people how they can reclaim 14 hours a week using this model. Now, for the listeners to my show, and I don't know, Simon, how much research you did about who I am before we came on the show, but I teach something called Exit Without Exiting. My book is actually called Exit Without Exiting, and it's about how to pull back your hours. And I think you can run a business in 10, maybe 20 hours a week if you do it right. So when you start talking about, hey, pull back 14 hours, you're speaking my language. So I love this. So 14 is very oddly specific. So I want to know why you picked that number. And then how do you get people to work 14 hours less every week?
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
Hey, listeners, a quick message here about something that's been a game changer for my business, and that is Dubb, spelled D-U-B-B. I have been a loyal user of Dubb since they started. I think it was back in 2017, 2018, and I can't say enough good things about their video email platform. With Dubb, I can send personalized video emails that let my energy come through, making every message more engaging. And whether I'm introducing myself to a prospect, connecting people, which is one cool thing that I do with it, or sharing important updates with my clients, Dubb makes it easy and effective. It brings the personal back to sales. Now, here's the best part. They are one of my sponsors of this podcast, and without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this amazing content I bring to you every single week. Because they're a sponsor here, they're offering a special deal just for my listeners. You can head over to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb. That's therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb, and that's D-U-B-B. And you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months. This is your chance to revolutionize your email game and your video game. Trust me, Dubb has closed more deals for me than anything else. Give it a try. See the difference.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
The number was, for many years, it was 10 to 14 hours. And the source is just our own observations from the sprints that we run with our clients, because we measure every 7 days, right? So we measure 12 times in a sprint. But then over time, we repeatedly hit that 14 hours mark. So now it's 14 hours. And I can even show it because some people are watching this. There is an image maybe that I can pull up. No, I can't. But
Yeah,
we started.
there's share opportunity. If you want to share the screen, I know the people listening won't be able to see it, but I think there's
No,
a
don't
share
worry.
button.
I can describe it. We started in quite a simple way. I told to my wife, I said, "Hey, I have a business coach now, and he said I have to fire myself from operations." And she goes, "What does that mean?" I said, "I don't know exactly, but I think I'm not gonna do the client work anymore." And she goes, "But it's you. They come for you, right? They trust you. They come because of you. They want you as a coach." And I said, "Yeah, and that's not gonna happen anymore." And she goes, "Oh my God, that's scary. How will they react?" I say, "I don't know, but I will tell you on Monday because it's happening on Monday." And I was so nervous. And then Monday comes Meanwhile, I had written down the method. So I really disciplined myself to sit down for half a year and write down the method in form of this book, Strategy Sprints. So that became a certification program, a certified a handful of people. Now I felt that there was some quality assurance because I certified them. And the certification was a 90 days one-on-one supervision with me. So where I would see them apply the method. And then every week I was their head coach. So I would, again, another quality loop, if you want, because I was seeing their work and answering their questions, improving some technique. And then because coaching is not easy, and there is, yes, if you have amazing tools, that's, let's say, 60% of the work, but there is also the 40%, which is how much are they stretching? How much are they capable of going from outside comfort zone into the learning zone? And that's more of a psychological toolbox that I had to also get right, because you can be an amazing coach on a technical level, but if you don't see that they are not stretching enough or stretching too much, they will still not reach their goal. So you have to balance exactly also the tension of each week. Not too less of attention, but not too much of the tension. And so when I got that right, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Monday comes. I say, welcome guys to your sprint. You want to double revenue in 90 days? Perfect. Here are your 3 goals. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. This is your weekly scheduled call for the next 12 weeks. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. This is your coach. We'll see each other once a month for a review. And then in 90 days, we're going to celebrate. And they went, cool, Simon, bye-bye. No problem at all. I go back to my wife. I said, they don't even miss me. And she says, wow, that's how terrible a coach you were? I said, maybe. Or maybe the trust is not in the person. The trust is in the professionalism of your processes. The trust is in the process. So you have a problem to solve. And yes, I trust Jason to be able to solve the problem. But if Jason tells me, hey, I have a method that I have spent 90 days teaching people, and I have quality assurance mechanisms that will make sure that it's working, then I trust his processes too.
So your strategy sprint certification program is about certifying coaches to teach that methodology. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
Oh, no, that's an additional thing that I am teaching the method to coaches. That it's an additional. The program is really we double your revenue in 90 days. But in addition to that, there is a certification where people, it's like a McDonald's, right? You can learn, you can get the processes, you can have access to the brand, and you can use it and apply it in your industry. If you learn it, and if you are an active certified strategy sprints coach, you can use the method and the brand in your country, in your vertical.
So you said pretty quickly there that one of the goals is double your revenue in 90 days. Was that just an example, or is that part of the methodology that you work with your professional services clients with?
That's the core method. So the strategy sprints method is in 90 days, we want to increase revenue by 99%. And the reason of 99 is we will improve 3 things by 25%. In each month, we want to hit an improvement of 25%. Month 1, we will improve your pricing power by 25%. Pricing power means if you increase your price by 25%, you don't lose clients. That's your pricing power. And the reason why we want to improve that is that everything else is a downstream problem from pricing power. If you have a good positioning and if you have strong pricing power, you are resilient. You will stay around the next 10 years. And the very first thing that happens in that month is you will increase your price by 25% because you can now. So you're injecting cash flow and you're increasing profitability of your business. And we can move on to month 2, where we want to increase your win rate by 25%. Win rate means same amount of conversations, but you close 25% more. So you don't have to do any lead gen or any ads or anything. It's the same pipeline. You're talking to 10 people, but you will close 25% more of those 10 conversations.
And this is part of your coaching program, what you teach people. And then the strategy sprints, that is what you're doing with strategy sprints, right? That's what that
Yeah,
does.
it's the same thing. Yes, we do it in 90 days with people. And also we teach certified coaches how they can learn it and do it in their country.
Nice. So you've been on 1,300 podcasts, and you have your own podcast too, right? So tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, you know what's funny? At some point, we got informed, Simon, the podcast is in the top 2.5% globally. And I said, this is a mistake. Double check. I mean, it's my friends and my mother who listen to the podcast. Come on. And they go, no, we double checked. Here are the stats. And I go, this must be BS stats. Come on, don't believe those stats. And then they show me everybody else is even worse. So we look at these numbers, and I will give you guys, all wannabe YouTubers like me and you, all wannabe heroes of the podcast world, I have very good news for you. You only have to survive 100 episodes. Then you are automatically in the top 10%. 100 episodes. That's all you need to survive first. They don't even need to be good. Just get to 100 episodes. The next 100, they will be good because now you're improving, you're learning, you're getting feedback from your folks, you're getting questions in the comments. Now they are doing the market research for you. The next 200 will be good. This is where you put in some editing and some production quality. Now it's worth it. And then you niche down and you do all the professionalism that you are doing in your sprint, right? Which is mainly winning the game of thumbnail and titles. Thumbnail is really a game of, think of a movie poster. You have to make a movie poster about the one topic and make it simple so that in 2 seconds watching that movie poster, I get the story. And make it emotional. And then the other thing is the title, and the title is an SEO game. There's great software that helps you with that. We use one that shows us green, yellow, red. This title is green. We go with the title. But yeah, this is the podcast. So on the podcast, I'm sharing my own journey to financial freedom. That means, I started sharing how I did start my agency, scaled the agency, fired myself from operations, became the CEO, a proper CEO, which I had to learn. And then when I was a CEO, and then I had some money, then I had to learn how to keep my money. So right now, every week, I'm sharing my own portfolio and how I'm learning to keep money. Because the last 20 years, I learned really well how to make money. I'm a sales expert now. But now I'm learning how to keep it. I have 3 kids. Will my money still be around? We don't know, but people who subscribe to the channel, they can find out.
That's great. Well, you've also you were a TEDx speaker. You did a TED Talk. So what was your talk on?
That was funny because I was asked, it was a big dream of mine to be on TED, of course. And when they asked, I had fired myself from operations and I had kids. So the last thing that I wanted to do was to fly anywhere. So my big dream comes true, and I get asked, hey, do you want to come to TED? And I said, no. That was the first request. Then all my friends go, are you crazy, Simon? That was your big dream. You have to do it. And I said, yeah, but I grounded myself. I don't fly anymore. And they go, come on, fly once. And I said, okay, if they ask me again, I will say yes. So they asked me again. That time I said yes, but remotely. And so I sent them a video. And they put it there on stage. It was about how your weirdness can be actually your strategic advantage. It can be your asset because it's unique.
Nice. Well, that getting that opportunity to do that and saying no to it after you want to do it tells me a lot about your character, because I know you have 3 kids and you're a doting father and you want to make sure that you're taking care of those kids, and to ground yourself against a dream that you've had for a long time tells me that you've got your priorities right, that the most important things in your life actually are the most important things in your life. So for that, I just want to say congratulations, because not a lot of people would have done that. So congrats to you. You know, the name of this show is called The Root of All Success. And I I want to get into this idea, this talk about success, as we kind of get ready to close things out today for the show. What do you think, if you look back, Simon, over your 22 plus years of experience of becoming a sales expert, writing the book, being on TED stage, having being a guest on over 1,300 podcasts, and then you're also a Forbes contributor, you're a triathlete, you've done a lot of fun things in your life. But if you had to isolate your success to one thing, like you said, if by doing this, that allowed me to be successful, what would you say that one thing is?
I'd say it's focus. And
Oh,
focus can be different thing in different cycles of your life. I'm 44, so I was at least in 2 cycles of my life. I would say the first cycle, focus on saying yes to everything. That's probably your first 20 years. I would say yes to everything until you find your purpose. And that's then probably cycle 2. When you know what you're here to do, now say no to everything. Because now you need the time to build that. And that's a decade or 2 decades of building it. And everything else is just a distraction. So it might feel hard to say no, but it's not that hard. And Jason just gave you the permission. He said it's even character. I just gave you the permission. You can say no to everyone, to your big dreams, because now you're onto something. Now you have a path. It's your purpose. It's your path. And that's the only thing that matters, because you have now to build it.
focus. You know, one of my mentors taught me that the word focus stands for follow one course until successful. And so I've always liked that. And I think that's really interesting that you say focus is your key to unlocking success. But let me ask you this question, Simon. How do you personally define success?
Oh, that's very subjective. So I am 44 right now. I have a focus card. On that focus card, there are always, it's this orange thing here. So we have all our tools in some nice thing to look at, because we want people to use them, right? And I am somebody, if stuff doesn't look good, I'm not using it anymore. So the focus card says, this is my 3 years vision. It's here. And then it's broken down into 5 1-year goals. And then it's broken down into the 90 days activities, right? It's 5 activities for these 90 days. And for the business, it's 5 activities, and they have 5 numbers there that we will measure every 7 days. For my personal life, because success is something personal. And so for my personal life, I have only one goal this year, and that is having fun. And how do I measure success? By the amount of laughter per hour. So it happens in the now, in the hour. It's not in December. It's in this hour, in this very moment.
That is a very, very interesting perspective on the definition of success. I've asked 240 plus people that question on this show, and that's the first time anybody's ever answered it's measured by the amount of laughter per hour. So by that definition, Simon, do you consider yourself successful?
In many hours, yes.
So if you had to now speak to the audience directly and give them some advice, and you were going to put on your coach hat, and you don't know what their particular problem is, but you know they're entrepreneurs, what piece of advice would you give them? And you can't say focus because we've already talked about that. So we got to go to something different. What's your one piece of advice?
Okay, this is Coach Simon now speaking, guys. And if you run a business, you have 100 moving parts. The most important thing is to delegate tasks every day, every week, every month, every year. This is how you build a business. So if I had only one prompt for you this week, I would say you go to strategysprints.com, you download the Daily Flow, which is a tool that helps you delegate. The tool you will use like a calendar. You write down, how did I allocate my time today? So 7 a.m., I went running, 8 a.m., I made breakfast, 9 a.m., I spent an hour on Instagram looking for yoga poses. Then 10 a.m., I wrote a blog post, right? Now, whenever you close down your day, let's say it's 6 p.m., and you wind down your day, you're getting ready to close your computer, it will ask you two reflective questions. One is, which of the things that I did today will I delegate tomorrow? And the other one is, if I would live more intentionally and more freely, what would I do tomorrow? You just answer these two things, and then you design your next day. You create your agenda for the next day, the hard landscape, and you put it in your calendar. That's it. If you just do this week, 3 days in a row, you have learned and installed the most important habit an entrepreneur can install, and that is delegation. Because wherever you are right now, the difference between you and Elon Musk is only this one habit. He solves a problem, then he hands it over. And then he goes to the next bigger problem. You repeat that 100 times, at some point you can build rockets.
Well, again, Simon, you and I are speaking the same language because, again, listeners to my show know that that is step one of my methodology is basic delegation. If you can't get that right, nothing else is going to work. Of course, I guess you could back that up one step ahead and say mindset. Mindset is kind of the first thing you got to deal with, and then tactically delegation. So I just went to your site and I've got the Strategy Sprints Daily Flow. I'm actually printing it right now, because I've downloaded it, so I'm going to put it on my desktop and I'm going to print this thing. This is actually pretty cool. Everybody, what you do is you go to strategysprints.com and then click on tools at the top, and he's got a whole page full of tools there. And the one that he was just talking about is this Daily Flow tool. What are the 3 most important tasks for the week? List out your schedule, which activities should be done by somebody else, and if you live more intentionally and freely, you would do what? So this is a very, very good tool. I'm really glad that I asked that question because I love these resources like this, because we need stuff like this. So Simon, thank you for that. And congratulations on your success. Congratulations on your book getting into Chinese. That's pretty cool. I'm going to give you the opportunity to have the last word. So anything you want to say before we close out the show today?
Just don't give up, guys. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. You can win just by staying around longer than your competition. I'm 22 years in my business. I have seen dozens of my competitors just give up. This is how you stay in the game.
Don't give up. Simon, thank you so much for being on the show today. You've been a great guest, and congratulations on all your success. And I hope, truly hope, that we can reconnect and do some things together in the near future. So thank you.
Thanks, Jason, for showing up for your community with consistency.
Well, there you have it. There's the interview with Simon Severino on the root of all success. I am the Real Jason Duncan. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to check out anything that Simon talked about today, go to his website, strategysprints.com. And you can find him on most social media platforms if you just look for Strategy Sprints on any of those platforms. And of course, you can go buy his book as well, which I'm going to go do. And he's also on LinkedIn. You can connect with him at Simon Severino. That's Severino. So big thanks to him and his team for getting this show booked. I'm glad that he was here. If you are interested in being on a show like this, if you're a successful entrepreneur and you've got a cool story to share, go to therootofallsuccess.com and fill out an application to be on the show. And who knows, we might pick you to come be on the show with me. Listen to the voiceover guy at the end. But hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'm the Real Jason Duncan. And as always, Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.